John, I just spilled some beer on myself. What better way to start off this series?
There's no better way.
But thanks for joining me. This is the inaugural edition of Brews and BizDev.
Quick shout out to 26 Shirts, repping my superhero healthcare worker shirt there. So yeah, community and things that I found useful that helped me with my mindset and going through this roller coaster of life.
There's 100 other people who's saying what I'm saying. They're saying some different version of it. But if I'm the one who's present and I'm the one who's been helping and I'm the one who's been in the community and in the things and all this, that's probably going to be who you're going to go with, right? The visibility, credibility, familiarity, and actually liking and trusting, which, for some of us are harder to like than others at different times.
I think it's just, not letting your ego get in the way. And a lot of it is analytical and numbers driven. And you could be the greatest salesman and the greatest pitchman and think you have the best ideas, but if they don't work, you've got to be humble enough to just accept it.
That door gets open because of building relationships, and most relationships are built on communication and trust and shared values. And I think that's what has to come across authentically. And if you can't figure out what that is or what that looks like, you need to do some self-reflection on what your values are, right? If you're so used to sort of cookie cutter, cold, put out 100 sales leads a day and maybe I convert 10 and that's the only formula you're operating by, it's time to tear that book up and throw it out the window.
The heart of everything that we do is establishing relationships between people who are going to either continue to do business or have new business together. So you have to put a lot of care into it. I think me kind of having the background that I have in the company, the care for like our brand, as well as being a mom, all of those things kind of help me be able to get my arms around taking good care of group and making sure that we're continuing to put things into our group that will help the success of our businesses.
Honestly, after about a year of just saying, hey, how's it going? Called me a few weeks ago and says, hey, can we get a proposal? That happens. But you need to be somebody who you can approach and say, I'm ready. I don't need you to sell me anything. I'm ready to buy something and let's make it work. But that would never happen if it was just a cold call. It wouldn't happen.
And people don't always let you know, as we know, but everyone in marketing wants to know, how did you hear about us? Is the question. I hate that question. Mm-hmm. How did you hear about us? The people that actually track answers to that, we found when you do have credible data to check that against, it doesn't usually match very well. I'd rather have someone ask the question, what do you know about us? Because then actually you might be feeding back some information that will help me understand what my reputation or perception is in the public as an individual or as a brand. But also they might be saying the types of things that we're talking about, right? Maybe it's language we're using in the things we're doing or the advertising we're creating. I think that's a better test.
Honestly, we're in fucking Buffalo. The number is not that large. You can't churn through the whole community and then think where else are you going to go?
The most amazing part, and here's the other hook to think about, is that a lot of the time people read those custom emails that you write and they think oh, yeah, actually, I want to hear about this. And then you know what happens? One of their idiot friends texts them, an email from a boss comes in, client, whatever, and they've completely forgotten about you. So the hook is in 2, max 3 days, just follow up and be like, hey, Paul, did you read this email? Kindly. And you, because it takes you 2 seconds to see my name, remember the subject line, be like, shit, that's right. I wanted to email you back. Will email me back. So that's my tip for you.
We want to consciously grow, because we've never consciously grown at any point in our, we've just did our job and it happened. We didn't, we never started saying what we want to do, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. It was nothing. We just did it.
Yep.
That's delicious.
Lately, I've really been digging this Tazo Tea drinker.
People will tell you all day long, man, if you build that, I would definitely buy it. And then after you build it, you find a lot of people that go, I don't know. And
right.
when it's time to write a check,
about it, yeah,
exactly.
And so they went from getting like $3 or $5 grand out of me to probably getting like less than $1,000 out of me. And it was all because he didn't listen, you know, and he didn't ask, and he didn't probe, he didn't find out what my budget, you know, was. I mean, because obviously like all pricing is just like ephemeral, right? For the most part. Like sometimes you have a little bit of handcuffing, but I mean, the thing that he was quoting was like totally just the back of the napkin, like, oh, what can we get people to pay?
Yeah, yeah, and in the services world, the pricing has a lot of latitude, and yes.
But so, anyways, if he had if he just actively listened and heard what my problems were and what I was trying to solve and come up with a solution, he would have made more money.
I guess, Paul, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. What kind of name would you have given Corona during this COVID-19?
Yes. I think the best play to go there off the top of my head is to actually leave it blank.
Oh, I love that.
Like this label just says extra. Like we've eliminated Corona, right?
Oh
like
my goodness, that's awesome.
If I'm targeting a company right now and their buyers are restaurants, that probably is not a smart idea. I probably need to like adjust my messaging. So I need to look at industries that are surging or doing really well. So that will in return get me more meetings because those people are looking to buy and invest to make sure that essentially their buyers are buying from them. So that means they'll buy from you.
Quite frankly, that's what makes, you know, jobs and life miserable sometimes when you're trying to fit yourself or fit your business into an area that just doesn't make sense. It's frustrating. You bang your head against the wall and, you know, you have unhappy customers and nobody wants that. And, you know, so I think it is so important, but it can be the hardest thing to do.
The ultimate objective, if you look at Chipotle, if you look at any successful brand, you look at Salesforce.com, if you look at Apple, I mean, you look at any successful brand, they have raving fans, like you mentioned, Paul, right? They have raving fans, which leads to a viral coefficient. A viral coefficient that leads to your customers doing your selling, your customers convincing other people, so on and so forth. You have to ask yourself, what is your viral coefficient?
First of all, before we get into that, I want to say something that most marketers don't, I don't know if they agree with me or not, but I believe that brand is primarily not built by marketing. I think marketing plays a role. If it's done really well, it maybe adds to brand. At the very least, it doesn't take away from brand. And when it's done poorly, it degrades the brand.
There are things maybe in the dress code, or there are things, not Ingram's per se, but in general, everyone's dress code. There are things that historically have been in there that might actually have bias baked in. There are things in hiring practices that have bias baked in, right? And so we're just going to try to strip some of that away to make it a more equitable workplace as opposed to putting on a demonstration or something.
Right. Yes. Yes. We're coming out guns blazing. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Again,
right.
I appreciate it. Fits my style pretty well. and that's always been a quandary, right? I mean, even if you take away the, you know, why, whether it's a people of color conversation or a queer conversation or whatever, just being different than the norm conversation, like the impacts are the same. They're not equally distributed, the impacts, right? My version of being different still carries a lot of privilege with it that other people can't get away with. And that's, for some of us, that's the extra reason to be a little more in your face with it, because like I can do this and other people can't. And then there's a point at which you have to balance it with financial business concerns, because that's technically what's running the show.
Great minds think alike, right? Great minds think alike, but fools seldom differ. Like there's a second part to that rhyme, or whatever you want to call it, and it's true, right? Like it's like if we all just sit around and agree, we're never going to grow.
Yep.
And that's like, isn't that what you're trying to do with your company? Is grow your company?
It's just funny how anti-sales I am and how pro BizDev I am, but you know, we're always selling no matter what, and that's something I've really learned recently. Like I'm selling the fact that you know, hey honey, like maybe we should get this car instead, it's a little bit more room, we have 2 kids now, like I'm selling it, right? But BizDev has many forms, and I just don't think it needs to be as scripted or as structured as people think. It can be it can be very casual, and it can be very lucrative if you do it right.
Medium-sized businesses that don't fucking know their audience. Like, honestly, the amount of business I go into, who's your audience? Everyone. Fuck off, everyone. Everyone.
Yeah, it's fucking gross.
Is everyone buying your products, Ali? No, they're not, you idiot. You know what I mean? I'm just full of fucking stupid. That's just lazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, know your audience. The better you know your audience, right? Honestly, the one thing I find that's why most copywriters are consistently fucking shy is because they don't take the time to get to know the people they're writing for. It's not about you. It's not about whether you fucking like something. Even if you're selling a product, it's not about whether you like the product. That's not the point. It's about, do you understand them well enough that you're providing them with something or speaking in a way that they understand, or providing them with something that they actually want.
There's some situations where it's not a fit. And if you always have that give first, help first mentality with literally zero in expectation, when the time comes and you need help, they're going to give you the answers. People are going to give you the time of day. They're going to pick up the phone. They're going to talk to you freely like a friend. They're going to tell you about their problems. And then all you have to do is listen.
Salespeople are no longer greasy 60-year-old like weirdos chain smoking cigs. They're like 25-year-old people going to Coachella and wearing culturally appropriating costumes, blacking out, and then showing up and closing $1 million deals with CEO of AT&T.
Chain vaping,
chain vaping and their jewels and their, it's there's a slight. Is it an evolution? I don't know. It's a change.
I think what I'll finish with. So we have an ethos we use here, which I think holds true, which is we say automate processes but never relationships. That's what this is all about. So as a human, automate all the shit that doesn't need a human to get it working so that you can invest in the things only a human can do, which can guarantee is building relationships with your customers.
Awesome.
If we can all remember that we're humans at the end of the day, nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
I think it, and that, when you are, complaining about a service or a product, that there are real people trying hard behind the scenes. And I think that's just an important thing, or message that, I think would help us all in our marketing efforts and our sales efforts is, that we are connecting to brands, and behind those brands are people. And anyways, kind of a sideways thought there, but
I like it. Please bring humanity back.